Hi, friends. Welcome back. This is Caitlin. I am so excited today. I've got my little fingers on the April stamp and die of the month. I saw you guys chatting ahead of time in the chat, and it just, like I said last time, it just makes my heart so happy. It feels like we have our own little friend group getting together, getting ready. So thank you so much. All of your interaction means the world to me. So keep it coming. Let me know what you think as we go along. As I said, today we're going to be working on the stamp and die of the month, which is called The Buzz. So we're going to see what The Buzz is all about. See what I did there? So yeah, I'm trying something a little different out with my lighting. So hopefully once we get started, it'll be a little bit brighter for you guys, a little easier to see. But otherwise, I think we should just go ahead and jump right in. So let me that and this guy back on. All right, so this is our stamp and die of the month for April, the Buzz. How stinking cute. So it's all of these sweet little bugs. Every single one has a bow in their hair, which I'm all about, and some very punny, cute little sentiments. So we have Sorry You Caught a Bug, Happy Birthday for the grasshopper, Bugs and Kisses, Flying by to say, What's the Buzz? And so happy for you. Just love them. So my thought when I saw this, yeah, the daddy legs is super cute. My first thought when I saw this was that I wanted to make something really sweet with multiple bugs. And I was like, well, where would there be multiple bugs? And I know that I have been doing a lot of gardens. And so I thought maybe I should switch it up just a little bit. And so I was thinking that it would be fun to do kind of a picnic themed. I get that none of these are ants, but hopefully the idea will still come through. So I'm going to walk you through what happened. I know I told you the other day that I try really hard not to practice things ahead of time, but it's good today that I did because things got interesting. So I have this buffalo plaid embossing folder that I love. It is very well used in this house. And so I was thinking to myself that I've seen a lot of people recently using embossing folders with ink and like a brayer or, swiping the ink on one of the raised edges and then going in and doing the impression so that you get ink on like in the divots. So I was like, well, I can do that. That never looks hard when somebody else says it. That's not going to be a problem. I'm just going to wing it. And then I got home from work and I was like, maybe I shouldn't wing it. So I tried it. And let me tell you, I'm sure that it's just the brayer that I have, but it did not go over well with my brayer. And so I tried to just regular ink it up. And this was my practice round, which this really isn't bad. And if you wanted a more kind of like distressed looking picnic blanket plaidi background, or you did it maybe twice and like relined it up, I think it could be cool, but it's not the look that I was going for. So then I was like, well, maybe if I just take a tiny bit of ink and ink blend the back. And again, that's not bad, but it lost some of the plaid feel to me and it just looks like checkerboard. So with the ink that was left on my embossing folder before I rinsed it off, I took my um, Pink and Main ergonomic mini brush. And I just kind of blended, because I also knew I was going to be working on white. I didn't think I wanted to do craft. I just had a piece of this extra to do. So I thought I just kind of like rubbed the ink around and I got this, which I really like. But the problem is that this is just a piece of printer paper from the other day that I used as practice. So now what we're going to try to do together is recreate this effect on my white cardstock with our embossing folder and our ink. And I have a feeling whatever happens, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it together because this is just not my style, but this felt dreamy and nice. So This is going to give me, hopefully, it'd probably be a little more accurate if it was red. And I thought about doing the pink as a picnic blanket, but I just really like the blue. So we're just going to stick with the blue. And then our little bugs can hang out on it. So that was my thought process. So I am going to have craft involved per usual. This is the Pebble cardstock. Grab a card base. Let's get this ready. And my white panel is going to be too big, but that's okay because I know that I'm going to want to trim it down. So we'll start with just getting our Pebble cardstock in place. And I thought this would be a little bit of like a hint of dirt or ground underneath our picnic blanket, maybe. I also thought about doing green as like a grassy, but I don't know, that just felt really bright. Hey, everybody that's jumping in. I hope, yeah, I saw Virginia, it started storming here earlier too. So hopefully everybody is staying nice and safe and dry. What better place to ride out a storm than here crafting? So, okay. So what I'm gonna do is, I guess we'll prep this. Let me see if I can get my crusty dusty big shot up here. That's good enough. The problem is I keep my big shot on a bottom shelf under my desk. And so um, it doesn't get the loving care and dusting that it would if it was up high somewhere. So I'm going to take the barbershop ink and I am going to hold it as straight and parallel to the table as possible. And we're just going to start by swiping in some color, trying to be as light-handed as possible. And honestly, this, if you had a slightly less juicy ink pad, see, there we go. That's what I mean. These ink pads just have so much pigment to them that in some places the color just comes off stronger. So instead of overly panicking or worrying about fixing it, I think that is why I love how it looked when I blended it out. And I also think this is the perfect brush for this because it's so flat. You can really get like an even softening of your pigment and your ink versus some of my other brushes from other companies are very curved, and I would be concerned that they would push a lot of pigment where I don't really want it. So I'm just doing little soft circles all around. I'm going to get my paper into place on the other side. And I'm even this time going to hold it in place with a little bit of low tack tape. Okay, then we will close it up. We're just going to imagine that my die plates don't actually look how they do. Okay, we're just going to ignore that right now. As I make a bigger desk. So on my Big Shot with these embossing folders, I like to run, let me double check because one time I did break my embossing folder. So you always want to make sure you're putting the hinge side into your machine first. I take the top two flaps out of my Big Shot platform and use both of my cutting plates. Let's get back to the floor. And there we go. So it's definitely not as impactful as it would be if we kept it completely clear, but I really like it, and I think it definitely still gives that buffalo kind of look. So it's just, even if you don't do it all the time, it's just fun to know if you already have an embossing folder, that's just one more thing that you can try out with it to see how you like it. So I think it's fun. It's definitely good enough for this card because in all honesty, we're going to be covering it with some of these bugs anyway. Yeah, it's not overpowering. Exactly. If you wanted it to be really bright and bold, this way is your way by far. But I kind of like that the softer look. Oh, well, my plan with my new light apparently is not working. So forgive me, and I will continue to work on that before next week. I want a good bit of space for my bug. So I'm going to go to 4 by 5 1/4. And that way we just have a thin little border with our, yeah, I like that with the pebble. And the real question is, no, you know what? I'm going to glue this one down flat and we will add foam to our bugs. I'm also a sucker for these embossing folders just on white plain. I don't know if you can see, but just the texture of that tone on tone is so pretty. I can't tell you how many of my blog posts for Pink and Mean have involved a just plain white tone on tone embossed, dry embossed background. All right. So that's good for now. I'll fill you in on sentiment stuff later, but in the meantime, let's jump to the main feature of our card today, which is these bugs. I did grab my Copics ahead of time. So they don't have such a glare. The other way. They're going to glare no matter what. Okay, that's just how today's going. So let's start with our grasshopper. And I am going to maybe zoom you guys in. There we go. That's good. Let me get out my coaster. All right, so we're starting with YG67 for my grasshopper. And I usually start with my darkest colors first and then work my way up to the lightest. If you are newer to Copic coloring or want to practice or you're not exactly sure where you want your shadows to go, you can always work lightest to darkest and then even back to lightest if you want. I'm blending that out with YG17. And I love these colors because they're really springy and they give almost that like perfect pea green kind of color. So for the belly, I'm going to skip the 67 and just add a little of the 17. And we're going to bring in an extra highlight color on the belly. So YG03, which I need to replace. My, yeah, it's not, I refilled it, but I think my markers has, or my lid has a crack. It's a little bit sticky. So the extra highlight color I was going to bring in for the belly will just also glaze over the top. That's the YG01. And I thought that that would give a really nice little highlight on the belly. These definitely look a little brighter on camera than they do in person. Um, so I have been trying really hard to post pictures of the projects we're doing, like before the following live. So if you ever are curious about how something turned out on my phone, like taking a picture, you can check out my Instagram for those. Everybody is going to get a yellow bow. We'll just do that all at once. So that is our, you know what she needs? Blush. We'll do some R22. We'll blush up all their cheeks. That's sweet. I like that. All right. So there is our little grasshopper. Thank you, Jay. I really like it. All right, next we're gonna do our ladybug. And I like the R something nines for all of my kind of ladybug reds. So 59, 39, 29 is my usual go-to, but because there isn't a ton of red space on here, I'm just going to do the 59 and the 29. We're not going to sweat the 39 in between today. And I'm trying really hard to stay out of the flowers, but I just got a little bit of red in one of them, and that's okay because I'm going to go back in with white gel pen at the end and reinforce that white. I wasn't sure when I was looking at this if I wanted to color the whole little flower spots black, but I think I like the idea of black spots with little white petals. So for the black, we're going to be going in with neutral gray. So I have my N8 is my darkest, and I'm going to make kind of a C shape around my flowers, my flower dots. And then on the face, I want to, on these areas where her eyes come out really close to the edge, I'm barely gonna fill in, but on the top and the bottom where she's got more real estate, we're going to make that a bolder, thicker line. And that extra depth is really gonna help this to read as black and not gray. So jumping down to an N6. Same thing, I'm gonna bring that 6 in more at the top and the bottom, making sure that I'm leaving her actual little face still nice and light. And then fill in that area with the N4. And don't be afraid to really go in, and I'm not scrubbing hard, but I am doing lots of little circles to break up that line, so we just don't have any harsh edges between our 6 and our 4. Just to smooth that out a little more. That N4 pushes that N8 back a lot. So you can always go in and pull in a little more of your medium and then go back over the very center one more time with your light, and it will get you that really pretty soft blend. So you can see, you can definitely still see her little face, her expression. I love that. Oh, thank you, Heather. I feel like I'm still newer to coloring, but it has been, I guess, like 4 years, 5 years almost, probably close to five, that I've been learning. And I still don't feel like I'm even close to being done learning by any means, but it's just practice, lots and lots of practice. All right, for my dragonfly wings, I'm going in with B00 from the center and then shading the underside of the wings. And then the B000, I'll just fill in the top. This isn't going to be super drastic, but that's okay because we're actually going to be giving her wings a little something special at the end. And then I decided on a purple dragonfly, but I think dragonflies are really fun to color because you can really color them. They're kind of like butterflies. Like I'm sure in nature they only come in so many colors, but nobody's ever going to look at your beautifully colored dragonfly and tell you that it should have been like brown. So sorry, that was a V17 is my darkest. We're going to go in with the V15, which is definitely a little more pink. And on the lower body area, I don't remember all the names for bugs, but we're going to just shade up one side. And then my lightest is the V12. Okay, and then she needs some blush. I'm not going to worry about blush on the ladybug because her little face is just too dark, but the dragonfly can have some blush, and then they all are getting yellow bows. So line 19 in the centers. And Y13 to fill in. And I like that even though none of this is going to be like rainbow themed, we don't have any orange, or even between this and the blue background, I think we're still going to get a really fun and like summer springy kind of card. So there are all of our sweet little characters. And I said at the end we would do this, but I think now is a good time so she can dry for a couple minutes. I want to sugar the wings on my dragonfly. So I am going to take my Ice Rink Superfine Glitter, which is just absolutely stunning. The camera's not even doing it justice because it has like a true rainbow reflect to it. And I'm going to take the fastest color out there. I try. Sometimes it can take me a really long time, but I try to pick things too that I want them to inspire you guys, but I'm not sure that everybody wants to be here for like a solid hour just watching coloring. So I'm taking the tip of my Easy Squeeze glue and I am just running that right along the bottom where I put that darker blue. That is not the lid to the glue, that's the lid to the glitter. And I'm just going to hold her upside down over a piece of printer paper and just drop a little bit of that glitter right on top. Give her a little tap. So that way she just has a cute little sparkle. She's a little extra, there we go. Yeah, a little on her face. But I just think that's so cute and it just adds that extra little special touch because she's going to be kind of our main character of our card. She's the one coming to hang out with the other two bugs. So I like viewing on printer paper because I can just take it, fold it in half, funnel it back into my container, and then I usually give it a little double fold in case there's any loose glitter. And then I'll still use this to ink blend or something on top of, or use as practice to run through my die cutting machine, as you saw earlier, before I throw it out. So that way it gets a little bit of a second life. So that is those are our images. And then let me tell you now about my sentiment plans. So when I say she's going to be the dragonfly is going to be our main character, I decided to pick the flying by to say sentiment. And so my thought was to have it kind of as a banner coming from under her. It could probably go the whole way across. We'll figure that part out in a second. So flying by to say, and then I decided to bring in a hefty sentiment. So this is the thanks sentiment from, we have a very different name, hold on. The Mod Stitched Mini Slim line dies, mini slim dies. So the main point of this die set are the Mod Stitched Mini Slimline dies, but it comes with this beautiful thanks, and I just loved it. So I thought it would be really cute to incorporate a die cut sentiment in with our stamp sentiment. So she's flying by to say thanks, and I cut it from the same Copic friendly white cardstock so that it would match. Since the outline on our bugs is the only true white on the card, I wanted to match the white to the white. If there was a white card base or we left this panel white, then I would have matched my white here to that white, if that makes sense. I try to match up the whites that are going to be the most prevalent, because I know that sounds really silly, but whites really do look a lot different papers, and black papers too. They don't look the same once they're next to each other. So I cut one layer from the white, I cut one layer from a scrap of that pebble cardstock. And so my thought was, like, I think that's pretty, but I thought that layering them would help it to pop. And I like the idea, I think, of the white on top of the pebble. So we're going to layer that up. Let me do that first, and then we can play with our layout. Right? I think some of the sentiments that come with that stamp set are pretty punny though, right? We have happy birthday, bugs and kisses, sorry you caught a bug, flying by to say what's the buzz, sorry, and so happy for you. I know there's probably even more punny sentiments than that, but I think they're pretty cute. So I just ran some of that liquid glue over it. And I think I want to shift this to the right and up a little bit. Usually down is my go-to, but I don't know. Today I'm feeling up and right. So you just take your time, making sure that's lined up how you want it. And then once it's on the card, you can see that little shadow really helps it to pop up off of that background. So we're going to have her saying, she's flying by to say thanks. And then I wanted my little ladybug to overlap that a little bit. And then our little grasshopper over on this side. That was what I was thinking. Okay. I think I can just do that. Should we do a full stripe or should I trim it down? That's the question. I'm going to get these three into place, and you guys, somebody give me their opinion. Do we leave this as a full strip all the way across with our dragonfly on top, or do I trim it down so it comes from underneath her wings and then ends? You let me know what you think. I really enjoy when we get to do that. It feels like we're collaborating. I mean, probably because it's literally what we're doing, but you guys like the full strip? Okay, perfect. Problem solved. Okay, you guys know what time it is. It's foam tape, giant roll of foam tape time. So we're gonna pop up just our insects today. Oh yeah, everybody said full strip. So, all right. So ladybug, we'll put two smaller ones. Grasshopper. Tucked right down here. And add some glue. Thanks. And I don't need that tucked a ton behind the ladybug. I just want it enough that it kind of feels incorporated. And I'm trying to just use those diamonds as a general guide to make sure that that's straight. Do this we said all the way. So let's do, yeah, let's at least just have it stop on at the blue. So I like to mark mark out my strip. With that. But we do need an idea of where our dragonfly sits to make sure that this looks cute. And again, I'm using the one of the stripes and the diamonds to make sure that that is straight all the way across, because even if our panel's not 100% straight, if it's lined up to the pattern, my eye will see it as more straight. So, and I did stamp my flying by to say in the same barbershop ink that we used for our embossing folder inking. Dragonfly. I smushed her glitter a little bit, but honestly, I don't really feel bad about that. Still pretty. And I just want her at a little bit of an angle. And I like that she kind of breaks the edge at the top. And I think the glitter on her is enough shimmer for me for tonight, enough sparkle. So I think that brings our project to a close. So there is our little buggy scene flying by to say thanks. And I did use a top folding card, so it kind of opens to the side, but I really do like that, especially for thank you cards, because I don't know why, but in my brain, I can fit more writing this way than I would writing this way. And I know that that seems really silly, but that's just me. So I'm so glad that you like the card. Everybody's saying it's adorable. I really appreciate that. I hope that you are feeling inspired in general to maybe try playing with inking in a different way, whether it's an embossing folder or something else. But just don't be afraid to play and don't be afraid to experiment, because sometimes it's going to look like this and sometimes it's going to look like this. And these times are 100% worth it. So yeah, let me come back to you guys here. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff in the way. Let's maybe move that up a little bit. Okay, so I want to take this time to thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me. I cannot wait. Next week, ooh, next week starts sneak peeks already for the April release. So I got my stuff in the mail yesterday, and let me just tell you, it's going to be really good. There's a bunch of really fun things coming and some very beautiful stamp sets. So get excited for that. We're going to take a look at them next week. I will be back Tuesday and Thursday next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook or YouTube, whatever is easiest for you. And make sure that you check in the gosh, it just started raining so hard. Make sure that you check in the description of whatever platform you're on in case you want to see any of the links to items that I am using or we use tonight. And definitely make sure you check out that Stamp and Die of the Month if you aren't a part or aren't aware of that subscription that Pink and Main has. It's 100% worth looking into. It's a great deal for some very cute stamps. So the link to that is down or up in the description as well. And yeah, I am so grateful you came to hang out. I hope that you have the most amazing weekend. Happy Easter to anyone who is celebrating, and I will see you next week. Happy crafting.